Well, we could open the discussion, I think, with just considering a little bit about karma, because that is one of the most confusing of all the teachings. And so many questions are asked by people that apparently have no answer. Why is a child born crippled? Or why is it that a good man suffers where an evil man seems to go unscathed and he has plenty of the good things of life, so-called? And where's justice in karma? And I think that all these questions arise simply because we don't have the faintest idea of what karma really is. And if we start with the premise that karma is simply ourselves, we are our own karma. And the only good karma that we can possibly have is our ability to do good. And that has nothing to do with the events that life brings up. Eventually we'll talk about them. But let's start with the very important thought that our good karma is our ability to do good and to help other people. And the reward that a good man asks for is greater ability in doing good and greater opportunities to do good. And those then are the things of real value that come to him as the result of his good karma, which is himself. And of course, conversely, a man's evil karma is his ability to do evil, his ability to destroy. And that's the worst karma that anyone can possibly have. And of course, he gains skill, he gains more opportunities to do evil, thus he builds on his own evil karma. And the things that happen to us in life that seem to show either justice or injustice should not be regarded really as basically our own karma, although they are certainly part of it, but you might say in a second degree. And if they are regarded not as favorable karma or unfavorable, not as rewards and punishments, but rather as the opportunities by which we can learn, then we see life in a completely different aspect. And the good man treats his misfortunes as being the very things he would have asked for if he had known how, because they are the things that bring out his real character. And everything that happens to him in life becomes a lesson. And his good fortune gives him an opportunity to share with others, his so-called good fortune. His so-called reverses in life are the very lessons that he needs to bring out his strength. And if we can view life in that way, then we'd no longer have to ask these awkward questions that don't seem to have any answers. There are many people who ask if it's possible to get away from karma, to rise above karma. Well, of course, that's utterly impossible, because wherever you are, and to whatever degree you may advance, you are still yourself, and you are your own karma. So it's impossible to get away from karma, but we can enter into other manifestations of karma. It's something like the astronauts in a spaceship. Many people say they are weightless, and that's the usual way of talking about it. And therefore, we might think that they are free of gravitation, but of course they're not at all. They are under the influence of gravitation, only working in a somewhat different way. The spaceship would not be in orbit if it were not within the Earth's gravitation. But it doesn't happen to be falling straight down to the Earth. It is circling around the Earth. If it were not for the gravitation of the Earth, it would fly off into space. And the spacemen are essentially a part of their spaceship, and therefore they are in orbit. And if you were to suddenly remove the spaceship, the men would remain in orbit and have no way of getting down. But they would still be within the Earth's gravitation. The reason they seem to be weightless is that they are so nearly the mass of their own spaceship. The vehicle may be 4, 5, or 600 times as heavy as they are, but that still wouldn't have a gravitational effect upon the men. But if you have a spaceship as big as the moon, which it essentially is, a natural spaceship, then people on the moon have a gravitational pull of about 1/6 that of the Earth. And it just shows that even between the astronauts and their spaceship, there's a little gravitational pull, but so very, very slight that it is absolutely undetectable. Well, in somewhat the same way then, when any entity has evolved out of the human phase of life and has gone on into other kingdoms that we call the John-Chohanic, they certainly have apparently left the human level of karma, but nevertheless belonging to the earth and its life, and as the Theosophist sees it, as a globe chain with its various races of entities, its armies of monads undergoing their rounds and races, he is always within that karmic stream, even if he leaves one particular little class like the human and moves on into the Dhyan-Chohanic, which is another class. He may find the karma is under a slightly different aspect, but he can never possibly leave karma.